So welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is going to be our community update for August 10th already. And as always, let's start out with a few statistics from our community. We've hit a couple of mini milestones in the last 2 weeks. One is that we've passed the 80 developers threshold on our open source GitHub. We've got to 83, as well as we've passed the 1200 GitHub stars threshold, and we're at about 1208. We have added about 68 new community members to our Slack and about 57 new community members that are spread across some of our other platforms. So welcome, of course, to all of our new and returning members. So glad to have you here with us. So just a quick update, we actually did a release of 11.4 on August 4th, just in case you missed our announcement. And some of our featured updates include a bunch of bug fixes and a couple of updates. In particular, we did a bug fix for the Java SDK version validation. We added improved exception handling for our parsing workflow configuration. We fixed a bug in our sign-up page error in the UI. And we actually had a community contribution that I wanted to shout out here, which was adding support for PostgreSQL by adding the NC in the entry point. So thank you to Krill. We also added 2 more bug fixes that I wanted to mention here because they were from community requests, which are the notifications for the auth provider for a failed login, as well as a Postgres API fix for the isbot flag. So those are all now fixed in release 11.4 that went out on August 4th. Now, the next major release is 12.0 already. Now, that's tentatively planned for August 31st, and that's actually coming up pretty quick. It's going to include a bunch of updates, as you see here. Those include roles and policies, data quality and the data profiler, an announcements section, and custom property support for all entities. We have an activity feed notification coming. We also have webhook and Slack improvements, as well as a pluggable secrets manager for AWS. We're introducing some more bots. We have a SAML login support, user password login support for OneLogin SSO. We've added 3 connectors, that's Fivetran, Dagster, and Red Panda. We're adding a global settings page. We're also adding some filtering options for the activity feed, webhook, and Slack. And of course, we're adding performance improvements to our ingestion framework, and we have a number of more improvements and, of course, bug fixes, as always, that we are producing for our community. So keep an eye out for those updates coming out. And now that I've got you hopefully excited about the 12. Release that's coming out, let's hear from the team on a couple of these updates. We're going to hear from a couple people today on a couple of different topics. Those include the data profiler UI improvement from Shailesh and Devani, announcements update from Sanchin, and then we're going to hear about policies and roles from Suresh. So first, Shailesh or Devani, did you guys want to share your screen?
Hey, just to give a little bit of context while Shailesh is showing his screen and Devani. So we've been shipping our own profiler as well as added data quality options from .NET release itself. So if you're following from .9, you have seen a lot of updates from each major release, .10 and .11. It's mostly around adding more options for the data quality, adding more profiler. Right now we have vast profiler across a lot of database connections, including quality support across a lot of databases as well. As we go along this path, we heard a lot from the community as well. Hey, I would like to have test failure notifications, and I like to see like my profiler data over a period of time. So what we are trying to do in point 12 is to kind of overhaul the entire from the UI standpoint as well as from the API standpoint. Few things that we're going to showcase here is how you can actually look at your entire data for the profiler and how easily it is. And we already made it easy in previous sections. You can go to the UI and add a test. Now it's even more intuitive in the way how you're going to add the test, as well as we are going to generate the test notifications, which can be consumed through the webhook, or you can configure the Slack as well. And test definitions. For example, in point 11, during when we are doing a demo, one of the community member asked, hey, can I add my own test definitions? Right? Before we used to do this through the JSON schemas, we thought that will be like a release to release addition of test case definitions. Now you can actually, it's an API call. If you have your own custom test definition, you can put it in there. So for now, in this demo, we're going to go through the profiler and all the new stuff that is coming in. But once we get to point 12, you will see a lot more stuff from the test cases and test suite and all other things that are coming in. So Devyani, take it away.
Actually, yes, I'm going to showcase. Yeah. So today we have a data profiler currently look like this. We have improved the UI, and we have integrated lots of customization as well. So let's go to new UI. So now the new UI will look like this with a new styling, richer data consumption. And we have like setting option as well, from where you can from setting option you can show how you want to sample your data, like it's up to 100%, or you want to do something related to 67 or 50%. You can
so just to add sorry Sarish, just to add some context around here. So if you have a large tables, probably in gigabytes, terabytes, you don't want to kind of profile the entire table. There are two ways it's going to happen, right? So we already do profiling based on the partitioning. If you already have the partitioning in BigQuery, whatnot, or Hive. In case of tables where we don't support the partitioning, you can say, okay, I only want 1% of the sample, or I only want 10% of the sample. So you can actually configure that per table. Here, previously in 0.11 days and 0.10, you used to set the sampling at the workflow level. That is, that sampling used to apply for all the tables universally. Now you can say that, hey, either I want universal sampling or I just want per table sampling with the new changes. Go ahead, Shanish.
Yeah. So now we also support custom SQL query. And we have option to exclude particular column profiling, like we can include particular column profile and select the matrix whichever on which we want to run the profiling. So by default, it's selected all. But if you want to select particular, like I want a null count or something, so I can do like that. And you can also include particular column if the address 2 is not, we don't want to profile on that, we can exclude that. Yeah. And we can save, and the setting will be updated.
So, Shalish, do you want to go through the dashboarding view as well? I don't know if you have it in Figma. You can showcase that.
Give me 1 second.
I have to say, I love all the colors. It's very colorful, and that really helps, like, distinguish, doesn't it?
I guess, Shailesh, I can take over for the dashboard view.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
So once you're on your profiler, you'll be able to view all the details about each of your columns, where you'll see detailed test, like why the tests are failing in passing, with all the details and all the metrics over here. So this would be your new data quality page. And this would be your new dashboard, profiler dashboard, where again, you'll be able to, go through all the data along with the chart representation, where you can see how your tests are going. So these are majorly more improved and detailed matrix for each of your tests that you are running.
And for at a column level, right? So there is
details
of a column, how the tests are running, how the profiling data looks like. So now you can double click into columns in 0.12.
There's another thing that we are adding another feature, that is test suite. So you will be able to group your multiple tests, and you'll be able to view the details and specs of all the tests that you're grouping together from different entities. So that would be visible on your profile.
Yeah, so the idea behind the test suite is, so today when you're writing a test, all of them are running part of one single workflow for the entire service. Let's say you have Redshift, you have 1,000 tables, and your users are coming and defining the test. And all of those tests will run as part of one single profiler workflow. The problem with that is you do not have a different option to schedule. Let's say you have 10 tables that needs to be scheduled after their ETL is finished at 10 a.m. PST, and you want to run at 10:30 a.m. PST. There is no flexibility like that. There is no grouping like that. And similarly, we don't want to having all the tests in a single workflow also have scalability issues, right? So we want to give the flexibility from users' point of view. They can group meaningful tests together. Let's say you are building a data product that involves 6 tables, from all the way from dimension tables to your own model tables, and then there are a bunch of dashboards. That's your kind of a product. Now, you as your team wants to run this test every 2 hours or whatnot. So you can create a test suite, assign the test cases there for these different 6 tables, and deploy them at a frequency you like. So that's a possibility that's coming from test suite. And the view point of view, you as a team can actually add owners and contributors to the test suite, so others can actually add to those test suites as well, the test cases. So yeah. So Sachin was asking how many days of profiler history I can see. So we are not putting any limitations. Ideally, we want to kind of top it off at like 60 days. But right now, is as much as you can. We do not have any deletion option. But as we go to the next releases, we want to add a configurable deletion so that you're not holding on to like a older test results that doesn't add much to context anyway. Any questions from the community? Anything else you want to say, Devani?
No, I guess that's it from my end about the profiler and data quality.
Yeah, if community has any questions, please chime in. This is a work in progress. We're shooting for point 12. Yeah, when the point 12 release comes in, you'll have a full-fledged demo. I'm hoping that will be really cool to see. Right, I think we can move on to the next one. Myself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shailesh and Devani. It looks fantastic as always. It's always impressive to see what you guys have been working on. So now we'll hear from Sachin about the announcements update.
Hey all, thanks for joining. So I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so today I will be talking about the announcement. So before that, I want to give some context. In order for the data team to understand the data, they must collaborate, which means asking question like why this column was tagged with XYZ tag, or offering suggestion to fix it. So these conversation takes place over Slack or email. So the rich metadata is not captured anywhere, right? So we have solved this problem by shipping some feature like activity feeds and tasks in the past few releases. So you don't have to jump from one tool to another tool. So basically to collaborate. Now in this release, what we are doing is basically we are introducing a new feature called announcement. So basically announcement if you want to inform your user for upcoming maintenance, deprecation, or etc. thing, so you can add announcement banners to the entities, right? So let's do a quick demo. Okay. So here I am on the entity page, and from here, what I can do, I can click on this manage button and then go to the announcement, and from here
I will get to see the announcement button, and I can click on the announcement. And here, like we have 4 fields like announcement title, and then start date, end date, and description. So let's create one. So create. So I will provide the title that's saying that this raw customer table will be deleted in 10 days. Please store your necessary data. And I will also add some description, like what additional things you have to do, like as this table will be deleted. So I'm saying like all user of raw customers should be migrated to the raw customer version 2. Now I can schedule it. So I will schedule between 10 August to 15 August, and I can click on this. So now this announcement is created, and when you refresh the page, you will get to see the banner. So like whoever user is using this raw customer or following this raw customer table, they will notify with this announcement that this particular table will be deleted in 10 days. Like please do the needful actions. And in the activity feed, we will also get this announcement notification feeds as well. And here we have added one more filter to filter out the announcements. So we'll get to see all the announcement that is going on or schedule in your organization level. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much we have for the announcement. Okay. So Harsha has one question. Does all the followers of the table get this announcement? Yes. So all the followers will be get notified. So we have this notification. So here we will be adding one more tab with announcement, and all the follower will get notified that this particular table will be deleted. So please do the needful actions. I hope this just answer your question, Harsha.
Hey, Sachin, one more thing on that. So in the announcement, the other users can also add comments like what, to have the conversation around why something happening, right?
Yes. So you can like reply. So let's say I am the follower of this particular table. So I can ask like why we are in this table, something like that. And I can also like react this. Let's say I don't want this table to be deleted, so I can react with not happy emoji, like I'm sad, or if I am, yeah.
No, that sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have. Also, like let's say I want to edit this announcement. Let's say I want to schedule this announcement later, so I can edit from here itself. Let's say I don't want announcement between 10 to 15 August. I want this to be between 12 to say 16 August. So I can edit that. Also, I can edit the description, something kind of, and title as well. And save. So it will be edited. So now this announcement will be scheduled from 12 August to 16 August. And on the entity page, if you see, you will not get to see that announcement banner because this announcement will be in effect from 12th August. And now it's 10 August. So once we reach the 12th August, then this banner will show up here. Like this is the active announcement. So does anyone have any questions regarding this?
If nobody has any questions for Sachin, I just wanted to thank you very much. It looks really good. That's going to be super handy for when people are migrating and working with their data. So if we don't have any questions for Sanchin, then we can move on, and we're going to hear from Shresh, and he's going to talk about the policies and roles.
Guys, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So, 0.12 is feature packed, right? We have so many features coming. And on top of that, we have some huge features related to hierarchical teams. We are overhauling roles and policies. So first, let's start with hierarchical teams, right? So clearly, when we started Open Metadata, we added, for us, ownership is an important aspect of metadata. And, culturally, we want to drive the organizations to own the data as teams, not as individuals, because individuals move around, leave. So we had added just teams, right? So there was no hierarchy. The second problem is we have only one administrator who is administrator for the entire organization. There is no scoped administration, right? So there is an admin for only department, division, business unit, with, only within that he can do administrative operations. So today we just have one super admin, right? The third one is, when you have hierarchical teams, now a user can say, I just want, I'm in finance department. I don't want to see anything else. Just limit all the search experience and whatever I'm looking at to the department, right? Because right now I'm focused on finance department's data. So we can build scope metadata experience in the future once we have hierarchical teams. And then the fourth thing is confusion between, the domains and how teams map, right? So today, domains, subdomains are tightly coupled with team hierarchy, and without having team hierarchy, you cannot support domains and subdomains from the data mesh effectively. So you need hierarchical teams for that. And then finally, how roles and policies are done becomes a lot simpler with a team hierarchy. And I'll show you, how we do that, and how it enables simplified access control and policy management. Okay, so let's look at team hierarchy. So there's a lot of text here. We can, we can probably send you a copy of this. But before 0.12, we just had two levels, right? There are teams. Team is made of a set of users, and then there was no team hierarchy. After 0.12, we are adding hierarchy where a team can belong to another team, right? Thus, you can build, a hierarchy of teams, and different organizations, depending on their size, have different, complex hierarchy, right, of people. So we have added this hierarchy. You don't need to, if you're a small startup, you don't need to use this. You can just keep a flat hierarchy. I'll talk about, the simplest hierarchy to the most complex. The most complex is there is one organization, and the organization can have multiple business units or divisions, departments, groups. Then business units can, have, multiple divisions, department, or group, right? So giving you flexibility of organizing whichever way your organization is structured, right? So, and then divisions underneath business unit, they can have, multiple departments or groups, and then departments can have other departments and groups, right? So, and then finally group, right? It's a special kind of a team of only users. It doesn't have, other teams, and only groups can own assets, right? The idea here is you don't want to assign ownership to organization, and whenever some issues are cropping up with your data asset, the entire organization is getting spammed, right, by the issue. Instead, you need focused set of people who truly own the asset, and who are responsible, right, who provide guarantees. And that's the reason why we have this constraint. We would love to get some feedback. All this work is going on in this issue 6133. Please, do look at the next level of details written there and provide us comments. So that's the hierarchy. So let's look at a startup, right? If a startup doesn't want and doesn't have this kind of hierarchy, you can just have teams, and teams are just belonging to the organization directly, right? You can have, 2-level hierarchy. You can have, 5-level hierarchy. You can have 10-level hierarchies, depending on how complex your organization is. Okay, so And you don't have to use all these hierarchies also. A startup can just have group of people just belonging to an organization. But one key change that is coming through 6133 is a concept of organization, right? If you don't have any hierarchy at all, everything belongs to organization. Users that are not part of the team belong to organization. Teams that are not part of any other hierarchy just belong to organization directly. So there's a concept of organization being introduced in 6133. And that will be the default parent of users and teams that don't have any parents. Okay. We are also adding a completely rehauled brand new team management, right? That includes all this team hierarchy functionality. So this is work in progress, but we are very excited about the design that Devian is given, and we should be able to demo this when we are going to do the 0.12 release. Okay, so that is hierarchical teams, right? Then we've been working on policy roles, access control role. Okay, so currently the relationship sort of looks like this, right? A user can have a role, or teams can have some default roles, and then each of these roles are a collection of policies, right? That is essentially you're making it convenient where a set of accesses that is required for performing a job is a part of role, and then access control has a set of rules. So let's deep dive a bit, right? So let's look at rules. Rules are, so in 0.11 release, we used to have allow true or false. That is what we used to allow. That was not expressive enough to capture all the kinds of access control that an organization wants to do. Also, that is based on our, the feedback that we are receiving from the community. So now we have a new type of effect called deny, right? So you have deny or allow, and if you don't deny or allow, it will be disallowed, right? So that is how, three kinds of accesses come into play. And then the general philosophy here is you give broadest, allow, and then you restrict the scope using deny, right? So you restrict the scope using deny, and then, so I'll also give you an example of how this works. Okay. Now during policy evaluation, what happens is we are executing rules, and depending on what operation you are doing on what resource, the policy matches, right? There is a resource list of resources, there are list of operations. So we match a rule based on the resource on which an operation is being performed by a user, right? So that's rule at the lowest level of how we build the access control. What we've also added now is, in the past, we had no conditional rules. Now we have added rich, Spring expression language based conditions. This will be super expressive. So let's to take an example of this. At an organization level, we are saying allow all operations, right, on all resources, right, and allow all operations for the owner, right? If each owner condition matches, then the owner can do all operations on the assets that he owns, right? The other example is, in order to drive ownership of assets, we are saying at an organization level, for all resources, allow an operation to edit the ownership if the asset has no owner, right? So this is the way we allow. If an asset has no owner, somebody can go and say, I am the owner. I want to claim the ownership, so that you can, easily drive the ownership without building a lot of approval process in the middle, right? So, so that's the, conditional rules that we have added. These conditions are going to be very rich. So you should be able to say, match these tags or match all of these tags. You should have a condition saying, if if a user is within a domain, is a part of a domain, right? Is in domain, things like that can be added so that you can build very rich access control of allow and deny, right? Rules. Now let's also look at rules, right? We used to have very few fine-grained, operations defined in our roles in the past. Typically, it was edit description, edit tags, and edit owner, and things like that. Now, what we have done is, for every resource or an entity within OpenMetadata, they publish or they provide all the set of operations that they support, right? So here is a chart that has bunch of operation. Here is team that has specifically edit users as an operation, right? That no other entity has. And then there is table, where table has a whole bunch of, edit, queries, edit data profile, adding tests and things like that are all part of, operations that are specific to tables. So we have fine-grained operations that you can use in rules to define fine-grained access control. Okay. And then, the next level of abstraction, right? So there are rules match on resources, operations, and some conditions, and then they actually allow or deny. Now, these rules are captured and collected together as a policy. So here is an example of an organization policy I already talked about. This organization policy has a set of rules, and it allows for the entire organization certain access, right, based on certain condition. And then policy is something that, can be directly, it can be made part of a role, right, further grouped together, or it can be directly assigned to team. In this example, we are assigning this organizational policy to organization at the highest point in the team hierarchy. Okay. That is that. And then the other part is also, you can actually have policies that become reusable. So you can use it as part of building other roles, or, assigning it to teams directly. So policies are the, rules are not building blocks. Rules are building blocks for policies, and policies become reusable building blocks across your entire organization. Okay. So now finally, right, the highest level, we have roles. Roles are nothing but collection of policies. And the idea here is every person, there are job functions, right? And they perform certain functions. You would, want to allow all the operations that job function performs, right? As an example here, there's a data consumer, and we have a data consumer policy, and you define what data consumers can do. And depending on that, you can edit data consumer policy. So that is how you build personas, roles, what kind of accesses that they need. Okay. Now users can have roles, and directly, right, you can assign roles to users, or you can actually assign default roles to teams. Any user that belongs to a team, or any team within the hierarchy that a user belongs to, you can assign roles. The user inherits all those roles that are defined for the team. Okay. So let's look at our policy evaluation. We've just overhauled this so that all the abstractions are clear in the code. You will see subject context.java, operation context.java, resource context.java. This is for developers to dig deeper. So whenever policy evaluation is happening, depending on authenticated user, we build subject context, which includes metadata related to the subject, the person who is trying to do the operation, which is who is the user, what is his user role, what is his team hierarchy, what roles he inherits through the team hierarchy, what policies he inherits through the team hierarchy. That is the subject context that is used by policy evaluator. And then a user is performing an operation, right? So we have operation context, which says what resource, like, I'm trying to edit the team description, then team is the resource. And what operation is performing. In this case, editing the description. Edit description is an operation. So that's the operation context. And then finally, resource context, right? We are building not RBAC, we are building ABAC. So we have attributes from the user, attributes about the operation. We finally have attributes from the resource, right? So let's say I'm changing a table dim address, then in which case dim address is the resource, and dim address has PII tags, maybe a few other attributes that we can use, like a domain that it belongs to. Those become resource attributes along with ownership, right? Now all of this information is fed to policy evaluator, and then policy evaluator actually executes the rules, and then comes up with an answer saying this operation is denied, or this operation is allowed, and no rules match, in which case nothing allowed the operation, and so the operation is disallowed, right? So that's how our policy evaluation is done. And so we have cleaned up this code, and we have now, like I said, Spring expression language based conditions. We expect spell to be used for a lot more things, right? So for filtering webhook events and things like that. So expect rich conditional language, become part of open metadata, not just for policy editing, for various other things. Okay. Now moving forward, how do we do the policy evaluation, right? So we always start with, there is a subject context. We first look at all the, policies that a user's role has, execute all the rules within those policies. And if any of those rule denies the operation, we deny it, right away. Then we go to the user's parent team. And if it has a role, we'll go through all the policies within that role and the rules within those policies. And then parent team can also have, direct policies. So we also, execute teams policies and its rules. And then we go to parents parent until we go all the way to the parent organization, which is the organization, right? Highest level of organization. Pardon some other typos here. These are like last minute slides. Anyway, so first we execute through all the deny rules, and then in the same way we execute through all allow rules. And if any of the rule allows all the operation you are trying to perform, then we allow access. Now, if no rules match, then finally we disallow access. Okay, so that is how policy execution happens. So this whole deny combined with allow gives you a rich way of restricting certain operations. You can just go allow operations on a wider basis, and then go deny it based on certain conditions, right? So so let's take an example of that, right? So here I can say all operations are allowed, but at an organization level I can say deny access to all assets with sensitive tags except for admins and data stewards. So when the policy execution happens, right, anything that has sensitive tags, a user comes in, he first gets denied, right? So that is the reason why we execute deny first. The other frequent access that we have is within my team or within my division. I don't want my data to be accessed by anybody else. So you can actually say deny access to all assets in this division because you are attaching this policy here, except for people in the division, right? You should be able to add these kind of conditions and have, build, policy rich, access control. We are also adding new UI pages for managing the roles within the organization, right? So you can define new roles, you can attach policies to it. You can also define policies. What we plan on doing is, with open metadata, we are going to provide a set of system policies that you can enable or disable so that common patterns of access control is available for you. So we'll have roles and policies, system roles and system policies that you can enable and reuse without having to define your own, right? So that's team hierarchy, policies, and roles. And as I said, 4199 is where policy rehaul, the reworking of the policies is happening. And then we also have 6133, where you can actually comment on team hierarchy. If you have any questions, please do ask.
Did we have any questions from the community for Suresh?
Yeah, we believe we will have very rich, team management and policy management with this. And we are super excited.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting update that's coming up for sure. And I thought the last update was exciting. I feel like it just keeps we up the ante every time.
Yeah,
Okay.
0.12 is a there are a lot of, it's the biggest feature packed release we have.
Okay, well, that's really great. If we don't have any questions right now, don't worry, we have we always ask the community about questions at the end, and I'll just finish up with our usual by ending the meeting by highlighting a few of our community contributions. Let me just share my screen again here. Okay, I feel like you guys should be able to see the Google Slides again.
Yeah, we can.
Fantastic. So we had a bunch of merged community PRs in the last couple of weeks, 13 double digits. Woohoo! So we had 5 each from Marco and Anket. And then we had one from Francisco, who had done 2 or 3 last presentation or last community update. The update from Krill that we mentioned in the 11.4, and another one from Ramesh. So thank you to all of our community members who have who've contributed PRs in the last couple of weeks. It's really fantastic to see the numbers jump like this. And I also, of course, wanted to call out our community members that opened GitHub issues. This is how we make those bug fixes. This is how we see and understand how you're using open metadata and make it better and make sure that it works across all of the different, platforms and setups that you guys use. It's impossible to test everything. We do a lot of testing, but even so, we need that community feedback from you guys to really take it to the next level. So thank you all for reporting any issues that you find. And then finally, I will end the meeting with some of our most active community members from the last couple of weeks. So thank you to Bohan, George, Mohammed, Anton, and Pauline. So this is a great opportunity to ask any questions about, the upcoming release, the roles and policies, or just any general questions that you had for us while we're here. I see lots of heart reactions. Thanks, guys. We've had a really, really exciting couple of months, really, from community perspective, from updates. So yeah. If we don't have any questions at the moment, then I will let people go. Give a few. Oh, Shresh, you're actually muted, so I didn't hear what you're saying there.
Now we should send swags to people who ask the first question. And the last question actually is better. That way we get more questions.
With that little nugget, does anybody have any questions?
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming to another community update. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks. And if you were one of the people on here with your GitHub, you're not in our Slack, come to our Slack. That's where I will message you to send you your swag for participating in our community. We have started doing that for the last couple of weeks. So we will send you a bit of swag for your participation and to thank you for everything that you do. So if your name is up here, send us a message and I'll get you some goodies. Okay. If that's it. Thanks, Taro. Yeah, the updates look really good. Thank you very much for coming. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next couple of weeks and on Slack. Bye now.